I don't really want to be identified because I associate with a lot of anti-vaccine people and I'm friends with some. If you see abuse, you have to do something about it. You have to say something about it.
I will argue with a hardcore anti-vaxxer for hours and hours and hours straight, as long as I know there's 1,000 other people watching the thread and are like, you know what, he's making a lot of sense.
So long as I'm making a difference for the good, then I think this is the fight that I'm fighting. Most people go to their doctor's offices and they vaccinate and move on. You don't come home and post on social media, my kid got his shots today and cried for 4 hours, woohoo! You just do it and you move on. But the people who don't vaccinate, they tell you.
I do have kids. I consider myself very lucky that I had no idea that this was even a debate when they were growing up and that it was time for them to get their shots. It really became troubling to me that people were making these kind of medical decisions for children in such an irresponsible way. It kind of snowballed. It kind of just became bigger than I ever imagined it would.
I was looking out for myself when I first started doing it and trying to make sure that, my kids weren't at risk. And then other people heard that I was doing it, and so they invited me in, and so we can work together as a team to try and fix things.
This year, the World Health Organization named vaccine hesitancy as one of the top 10 threats to global health, alongside Ebola, HIV, and air pollution. The issue is playing out through legislative battles around the country. But another fight is happening on Facebook, where 43% of Americans get their news, and anti-vaccine content is widely spread despite recent efforts by the platform to redirect users to accurate information. To combat this, ordinary people have stepped in, at times putting themselves at risk, to promote scientific facts in online anti-vaccine echo chambers.
There's all this energy being spent trading barbs on social media, and there's a lot of energy being spent just trying to counter the misinformation. And the frustrating thing is that the social science shows us that all that does is convince people that there's a debate when there isn't one.
I did not anticipate the amount of change that can take place based on social media.
I think that's where the front lines really are right now in social media. Even the stuff that happens in real life, but that's all organized online. That wouldn't have happened without social media.
Measles outbreaks have been on the rise in the U.S. in recent years. And in 2019, there was a spike. More than 1,200 cases of measles have been recorded this year, with the majority of them among people who weren't vaccinated.
Back when I first started doing this, I had a baby. He was just around 1 year old. Now I'm pregnant again. So back in 2014, 2015, I discovered that in the place where I was taking him to play and to meet other new moms, there were other moms in that group who hadn't vaccinated their children. Most of my mama bear instincts kicked in. You have to protect your kids.
So it was about 2012, and I was on Facebook, and a friend of mine posted some infographic. It just boggled my mind that there were 25,000 people out there who didn't vaccinate their kids on purpose. Little did I know that it was just the tip of the iceberg.
A 2018 study published in the journal Vaccine suggested that the echo chamber effect on Facebook may prevent accurate information from reaching vaccine-hesitant people.
You really have to go into their world and refute the specific arguments that they're making. It's really sad. What you'll see in real time is a parent who has a tragedy, their child dies for some unexplained reason. And they're grieving and they're vulnerable, and the anti-vaxxers will swoop in and say, hey, by chance, did your kid get a vaccine recently? And then that parent becomes an anti-vaxxer.
I've only had to report incidences a few times. There was a lady who was posting about her child who had mumps, and she was a nurse in a NICU, and she was openly saying that she wasn't going to take her child to the doctor because she didn't want to get harassed for him not being vaccinated. And so I called the health department. This one, though, this kid stuck his hand on the stove, and he's 3 years old, and they've put cold water, egg whites, and aloe on it. This one will be reported by somebody.
So these are some slides that I put together for a couple of talks that I've done. We often see the same conversation pieces coming up from vaccine-hesitant people. And so I went through and found some of their imagery and then debunked it. We often get posts from clinics saying, we got our flu shots in, and hundreds, if not thousands, of anti-vax comments will flood that page saying all sorts of untrue things about the flu vaccine. And so then, we get the call in our pro-vaccine Facebook groups, everybody, this page needs some defense. And so then we wind up spending time posting positive comments. And then the anti-vaxxers will jump on our comments and say, oh, you're one of those paid pharma shills.
In 2019, researchers found that vaccine debates on Facebook fall into a complex network of different motivations.
People who vehemently, deeply believe that their children will be harmed by a vaccine. Imagine if that were true. Of course they're going to be angry. Of course they're going to be loud. Of course they're going to be in your face.
We all just want to do what's absolutely best for our kids.
Just because somebody doesn't vaccinate their kids, and they may be mistaken, they could be wrong, they've fallen into some fears, they've fallen into misinformation, but that doesn't make them a bad person.
I want to be able to reach everybody and make them feel more comfortable about what works, what is safe.
I'm not a doctor. I am ultimately just another mom on the internet.